Hello, everybody. All right, welcome to the Mikestand. Sorry I'm a tad late here, but hopefully everybody's having a good week thus far. Um, of course, as I said, we're going to continue. We're going to do the three stories that I didn't get to last night tonight. So, um, but with that being said, so we're going to basically all the stories going to coming out of. So, of course, we're going to give people a chance to come in before we get started. Friendly reminder to everybody, of course, if you guys haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Let me just. Let's see now. Just doing some last minute send outs here for anybody who may want to take a gander. All right. Let's see. So we're at the 2 minute mark. So here's what's on top tonight. As I said, we're going to do three stories from Bounding into Comics. Originally, we were going to try to do these last night, but kind of ran a little short on time. Including original Akira and Ghost in the Shell manga publication, Young Magazine, to give away special U.S. issue at New York Comic Con, Kinokuniya bookstores. Chainsaw Man the movie, Ray's Arc, Rain's Hellfire with new trailer, Studio Mappa, uncertain about series continuing on TV or film. We are going to look at the next story and decide from there. And also, Comedy Central releases the trailer for season 3 of their Beavis and Butthead revival. So these all came out, of course, back on the 1st, as I understand it. Plus, of course, we'll get you caught up on what happened on last night's Monday Night Raw. Look ahead to tonight's NXT, and then after that, after the wrestling wrap up, then we'll get you all caught up on this day in each history. So, with that being said, I think I'm going to go ahead and just get started here. Let me just one last time see if there's anybody that might be interested. Send the link to the show too. Alrighty then. Alrighty then. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started then. We're almost coming up on 5 minutes here, so let me pull up the material here for the night. Alrighty then. As I said, if you haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage, I'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So here we go. Original Akira and Ghost in the Shell manga publication, Young Magazine, to give away special U.S. issue at New York Comic Con, Kinokuniya bookstores. Article article by Nerdigans Inc. published on August 1st, which was last Friday. All right, so in continuing to attempt an expansion into Western markets, Japanese publisher Kodansha has announced that they will be releasing a special U.S. version of their manga anthology publication, Young Magazine, replete with a fan vote as to which of the featured series will receive continued serialization in the K-manga distribution platform. All right. So they're trying to expand west here. I just hope for everybody's sake they don't listen to the wokies, thinking that they're the target audience or something like that. The original home of such iconic manga series as Akira, Ghost in the Shell, Gambling Apocalypse, Kaiji, and Chobits, the long-running seinen magazine, announced its America-centric plans as part of their 45th anniversary celebrations. So 45 years, so means they've been around since 1980. Totaling 1,044 pages, the special issue will feature a total of 20 titles, 16 of them brand new, including one by Initial D mangaka Shuichi Shigeno, all wrapped in a cover illustrated by Ghost in the Shell creator Masamune Shiro. And there's what it looks like, young Subaru and Subaru. Manga is us. Quote, for our selection, we held an open call and received submissions over 100 manga creators, unquote, explained Young Magazine USA editor-in-chief Hidemi Shiraki. Quote, ultimately, 19 titles were carefully selected for your enjoyment. We hope to introduce the potential of seinen manga, in bracket there, whose target demographic is typically males in the 18 to 25 age range, as opposed to shonen genres 10 to 18, which explores themes and ideas beyond the scope of shonen to more readers in North America, the largest manga audience outside of Japan. Unquote. Speaking to Japanese government-run broadcaster NHK, Shiraki noted that in terms of his goals for Young Magazine's future, quote, I think it is the role of youth manga to depict not only dreams, but also reality, such as pain and conflict. I want to leave behind a masterpiece like Akira that will last for the next 50 to 100 years, unquote. Interesting thought process there. Further, as noted by the news outlet, quote, a team of experts spent about 2 months translating and reviewing the manga, which is a rarity for a seinen manga magazine, to be published overseas, unquote. Hey, Metal. Every time I revisit Initial D, I hate the main protagonist and his crew more and more. Love the racing, though. Yeah, I've seen Initial D before. It's got some, Initial D as an anime got the racing theme plus a pretty cool soundtrack to it too. Anyways, continuing on. Again, a friendly reminder to everybody, if you haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, with that being said, let's continue on here. In service of introducing more readers to the seinen genre's offerings, Kodansha will be offering this special edition of Young Magazine free of charge, with readers able to pick up a copy at all 17 locations of the Japanese bookstore Kinokuniya from August 24th to November 10th. So wow, let's see, 2.5 months. That's like 10 weeks right there. 10 weeks. Wow, that's quite a window. Further, during this period, readers who purchase any volume of any manga featured in the issue directly from Kinokuniya bookstore will receive a free mini autograph board. Additionally, interested readers attending the Anime New York City convention from August 24th to November can grab. I don't know if that is that a typo. Are you trying to tell me that there's a anime convention in New York that's planning on running for 10 weeks? Usually, most of the ones I know of only run for a weekend or so. Maybe a week at most. Oh boy. Wonder if that was a typo right there. Can grab a copy at Kinokuniya's booth, as located at booth 321. Further, on August 24th, which is a Saturday, by the way, two authors whose work appear in the issue, Dragonhead mangaka Minetaro Mochizuki and Under Ninja mangaka Kengo Hanazawa, will appear at the convention for respective panels and autograph sessions. And to truly give U.S. readers the Japanese manga experience, Kodansha will also be opening up the 16 titles featured within the Young Magazine special for fan voting. For those unable to pick up a physical copy for themselves, all of its new material will be made fully available on the publisher's Twitter account and official website, with the winner set to receive full serialization via the publisher's K-Manga app. Oh, look at that artwork. Let's see. Keidogaku's next installment of Boys Run the Riot series, Boys Run the Riot in Transition. One shot Inochi Odoru mangaka Oga's debut series, Fasciation. Rin Shinokawa's debut manga, Godmother. Kokuma Muso mangaka Hiroki Ichizawa, new series Goma, the blade that slaughters gods. Henri Morikuma's debut manga, Into the Dark. Pako-chan mangaka Hikari Azuma. Next manga is My Strange Love. Let's see. I know Edenshi mangaka Kiori Yamada's new series Kiki Kai Kai. The Skandala writer Danchi Matsumoto teams up with Kyubi Shoujo Jikin Taisakuka manga Keita Nichijima on Pregnant. Let's see. Yukito Irai's debut manga project Metalia. Uchino-shima mangaka Daisuke Tsuru's latest series, Protocol Ryugu. Kami Nisho's debut series, Still You. Makina-san's Love Bot mangaka Yoshimi Sato's new The Graveyard Shift. Kyokuto Shimaratika mangaka Daisuke Itabashi's latest manga, The Journey of a Dark Elf with Fading Powers. Rei Kindo's debut manga, The Night of Blasphemy. Red Data Book manga writer Hiroshi Takashige teams up with rookie artist Tatsumi Hitomoji for the Striker creators' latest series, The Last Terrain, and Our Precious Conversations mangaka Robiko next series, To Dusk and Twilight. Whew, that was a mouthful. That was a mouthful. Let's see. Kodansha also promises to offer limited prizes, quote unquote, to readers who actively post about the manga they voted for. But as of writing, they have not provided any details as to what these may be or how they go about selecting winners. And while not available online or as an eligible selection for fan vote campaign, the physical issue will also include chapters from 4 currently running Young Magazine series: The Silent Forest by PTSD mangaka Masaki Nakayama, Me and Bob Dylan, in parentheses, and My Father by Blood on the Tracks mangaka Shuzo Oshimi, Shuichi Shigeno, sequel to Initial D and MF Ghost manga Subaru and Subaru, Under Ninja by Kengo Hanazawa. Alrighty then, let's see. Voting will open during the entirety of the Young Magazine promo campaign, August 21st to November 10th. With polling set to be conducted via the official website and Twitter account with real-time results available on the website. From there, the winning title will be revealed on December 15th. All right, so there we go. So for manga readers, that's something to look forward to. Is Kodansha's looking to expand to the U.S. here with a Young Magazine book. Metal, I know you're probably one who has read manga before. Have you ever read anything from Young Magazine? Well, I guess not. If this is their first attempt at a, I guess you wouldn't have. Anyways, anyways, now getting ready to move on to the next article. All right, so let's get into the next article I was going to go over here. Apparently, some more. Let's see. Um, and not. The title was part of it. I read a lot of fan translations. All right. All right. Well, anyways, let's get ready to move on to the next article here. Chainsaw Man, the movie, Ray's Arc, rains hellfire with new trailer. Studio Mappa, uncertain about series, continuing on film or TV, quote, we are going to look at the next story and decide from there, unquote. Article by Nerdigans Inc., also published back on Friday, August the 1st, 2025. So let's take a look at this. A little bit of fan service there. As Chainsaw Man, the movie, Ray's Arc, primes itself for its theatrical detonation with a new trailer, Studio Mappa have offered not only an explanation regarding their controversial decision to continue their animated adaptation of Tatsuki Fujimoto's fan favorite manga, but also a brief note as to their future production plans. Personally unveiled by MAPPA President Manabu Otsuka and Vice President Hiroya Hasegawa as part of the studio's industry panel at the recent Anime Expo 2025, the film's explosive trailer kicks off with a love-struck Denji, who's voiced in the Japanese by Kikunosuke Toya, who also voices Donnie in the Seven Deadly Sins, Four Nights of the Apocalypse, finding himself romantically torn between his boss, Public Safety Division 4 leader Makima, voiced in the Japanese by Tomori Kusunoki, who provides the voice of Nemu Meow in Witch Watch, and former USSR experimentation subject, the Bomb Devil Reese, who's voiced in the Japanese by Reina Ueda, who also provides the voice of Shizuka Kuze in Takopi's Original Sin. However, unaware to the titular hero as he recounts his dilemma to Pochita, who is voiced in the Japanese by Shiori Izawa, who also provides the voice of Pyoko in Rooster Fighter, is the fact that both women are using their feminine wiles to manipulate him. After eventually finding Genji and Reese sharing a romantic kiss, the trailer makes a fiery turn to the lovers turned enemies. Eventual battle. Wow. Before ultimately concluding with the latter reluctant team up against one of the series' most ferocious antagonists, the Typhoon Devil, who is voiced in the Japanese by Eri Kitamura, provides the voice of Nico Harada in Call of the Night. And there's Reese right there. She looks happy. Reese invites Denji for a swim in Chainsaw Man, the movie Reese arc. In the post-panel interview with comicbook.com, the aforementioned President Otsuka addressed Studio Mappa's controversial decision to adapt the Reese arc as a film instead of a television season, explaining, quote, "We think that the original work from creator Tatsuki Fujimoto, the Reese arc, was perfect as a film," unquote. Quote, "The cinematic expression, the action, the explosions look so much better as a film," unquote. He added, quote, "We also feel that this was the best way to give the story to the fans so that it could be as big as humanly possible," unquote. In regards to the future of Chainsaw Man anime proper, specifically whether it would continue on the silver or small screen, the MAPPA president admitted that, quote, "We don't know if this is going to be the trend moving forward. That we don't know," unquote. Quote, "I think what we are going to do, like we did with Reese, they the typo there, putting with instead of we, is look at the next story and decide from there," unquote. He said, quote, "If the next arc works better as a film, or if it works better as a television series, we'll decide on that, but we haven't reached that decision as of yet," unquote. There's Reese and Denji smooching. At current, Chainsaw Man, the movie, Reese arc, is set to slice its way into Japanese theaters on September 19th. Before reviving into North America, the studio's first ever R rating on October 29th. All episodes of the Chainsaw Man anime are now available on Crunchyroll, while the entirety of the original manga is available to read on Shueisha's Manga Plus and Viz Media's Shonen Jump Plus, with new chapters releasing on Tuesdays, 7 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Alrighty then. So there we go with that one. And we'll get ready to go to our next story here. Next article. Let's see. The title of this article made me think they weren't sure if they were going to continue it at all, not whether they were deciding between TV and cinema. Yeah, well, I think they did mention it in the article there, but maybe in the first line or so. But, anyways, continuing on now with the third and final article of the evening. Comedy Central releases a trailer for season 3 of their Beavis and Butthead revival. Article by Dante Eric, published yesterday, August the 4th. Let's get down to business here and see what this one's all about. While it's completely fair to condemn reboots or decades later sequels, the very second they're announced, it doesn't always mean that the finished product will be a veritable dumpster fire. Um, Sometimes these um, creatively bankrupt retreads manage to successfully capture um, the spirit of their predecessor. Parentheses here, the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance and Beetlejuice, for example, on parentheses. However, there's one resurrected duo that has returned to our lives without showing any signs of aging, restraint, or even maturity, and their names are Beavis and Butthead. Hmm. Hmm. First reported by Variety, 2 year. First reported by Variety, 2 years have passed since the last season of the timeless animated classic Beavis and Butthead from creator Mike Judge. In parentheses, Office Space, Idiocracy, on parentheses, and it left loyal fans clamoring for more. But the wait is finally over. The folks at Comedy Central are bringing history's favorite DAs, and that's not district attorneys, dumb arses, I'll put it to you that way, dumb arses, back to the homes of the glum masses for a third season, 11th overall, and reminding them they're never too old to laugh at the sound of fart gases. The series was revived in 2022 on Paramount Plus after the success of the long-awaited sequel to Beavis and Butthead Do America back in 1996, called Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe. Some fans were worried that their quote unquote problematic humor would be diluted to placate the delicate sensibilities of modern helicopter parents and the professional victims that they're trying to raise. Those fears were immediately shattered when the first episode aired because those two fart knockers are still dumb, still laughing, and they're still trying to score. After all this time, right? Hmm. Mike Judge's Beavis and Butthead made their debut on the amazing and in parentheses here, and virtually forgotten on parentheses MTV series Liquid Television. The network greenlit a full season in 1993, which turned into 7 seasons of what became the most popular show on that obsolete channel. Um, it's also responsible for turning a whole generation of kids into a bunch of dimwits who mock healthy lifestyle choices and laugh at any remark that can be misconstrued as sexual. But most of them wear that mental deficiency like it's a badge of honor. In parentheses, I said, oh, on her on parentheses. This is the second time the titular characters have been reintroduced into society. A short-lived reboot aired on MTV for one season in 2011 before calling it quits. Despite being funny, it failed to capture the foul essence of the original show. But the new reboot has succeeded where the valiant effort failed. Before those butt dumplings once again invade our homes and spill nachos everywhere, Mike Judge is giving fans um, another taste of propane with a reboot of his other hit series, King of the Hill, which is airing August 4th on Hulu. The Pride of Highland High School are set to make their comeback on September 3rd. Now it's time to unlock a core memory by reminding everyone that Beavis and Butthead are not role models. They're not even human. They're cartoons. Some of the things they do would cause a person to get hurt, expelled, arrested, possibly deported. To put it another way, don't try this at home. Every episode of Mike Judge's Beavis and Butthead is available on Paramount Plus. Check out the trailer for the new season right here. Turd Burglar. Okay. I wonder if that's anything like a Butthole Surfer. Anyways. Oh, there we go. Well, that's the last of the articles we were doing tonight. Let's see. I've watched the first 2 episodes of the King of the Hill reboot. Episode 1 was meh, but episode 2 felt a lot like the old seasons. All right. So I guess they didn't really do the whole modern sensibilities bit with King of the Hill, the King of the Hill reboot metal. So. Just grabbing some stuff here. Now, granted, I didn't get around to previewing last night's Raw, but as we get ready to head into the wrestling wrap up here, but it was a good thing. I wouldn't have been able to anyways because they didn't have any matches listed as of yet. So they kind of did, but in a way that it fits King of the Hill. All right. All right. Alrighty then. So now we're gonna move on to the wrestling wrap up. Kind of get caught up on last night's Monday Night Raw. You know, kind of a Monday Night Raw. The Monday Night Raw coming out of the SummerSlam pay per view, and I saw some of the highlights and stuff like that, and it seemed a little underwhelming. You know, again, WWE just seems to be relying too heavily on shenanigans. They have good athletes there that can put on some good matches, but they just keep, you know. So the opening match of the evening saw The opening match saw Rufus and Sheamus take on each other, end up in a double count out, which they were basically pounding on each other's chest on the outside of the ring, and then it kind of turned into a bit of a full on fight. Then after that, Penta defeated Grayson Waller. And by the way, last night's Monday Night Raw came from the Barclays Center in New York City, New York. Then the WWE Women's Tag Team titles were on the line as Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair, who had just won the title at SummerSlam, were able to successfully retain against Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez as they immediately exercised their rematch clause, trying to regain the titles. Dominic, in a non-title match, Intercontinental Champion Dominic Mysterio defeated Dragon Lee in a one-on-one. Of course, Dominic Mysterio getting some help from now 4 El Grande Americanos, and then also utilizing his boot, much like Eddie Guerrero did to get to knock out. And then in a match that was set up at the beginning of the show, Seth Rollins retained the WWE World Heavyweight title over LA Knight via DQ when he was attacked by CM Punk seeking revenge for the previous night's. It led into a beatdown of CM Punk, LA Knight, and Roman Reigns, who came out try to get involved as well against Seth Rollins' new group, The Vision. Now, of course, early in the evening, this match for the World Heavyweight title was set up early in the evening, as at the beginning of the show, as Rollins was celebrating his title victory. LA Knight came out and interfered, which led to this match being scheduled, being booked. Adam Pearce had stated that it was punishment for Rollins faking his knee injury all this time, working everybody basically, to set this all up. So, anyways, now as we prepare to look ahead to tonight's NXT, let's see what's going on there. Tonight's NXT, which of course will be airing on the CW. Coming from the WWE Performance Center in Orlando, Florida. Nia Jax is set to take on Thea Hall in the opening match. Blake Monroe takes on Kalani Jordan. Lexis King will be taking on Miles Bourne. In a match for the NXT Women's North American title, Sol Ruka, with Zarya in her corner, will be defending against Tatum Paxley with Izzy Dame in her corner. And the WWE NXT Tag Team title will also be on the line as Tank Ledger and Hank and Tank Ledger and Hank Walker, will be defending against the Chase U duo of Uriah Collins and Kale Dixon with Andre Chase in their corner. So some guys we haven't seen on NXT in a while will now be getting features here. So that would be interesting. So that's all I got for the wrestling wrap-up. Wasn't much news coming. Of course, tomorrow night we'll talk obviously about of course probably have some updates on what happened on tonight's NXT, as well as look ahead to tomorrow night's Dynamite for AEW as they continue to build towards towards Forbidden Door in just under 3 weeks. Let's see now. So 45 minutes. So, anyways, anything you guys want to ask about, or I do have a couple extra minutes here. Anybody got any like questions they want to ask? That should take about 5 minutes or so to answer before I get into this day in niche history. Let me see. Actually, today I did finish off before the show. Of course, I did have a chance to finish watching some of the shorts from July of 1939, the second half of the month, as it were, including the last Popeye cartoon that would air for a few months until the end of the year. It's the natural thing to do, which was basically Popeye's fan club sitting there, trying to asking him to kind of cut down on the rough stuff, and for Popeye, Olive, and Bluto to try to act more politely, as it were, more like proper lady and gentlemen, as opposed to just roughneck stuff that they do. And I have to say, it was a pretty entertaining cartoon. And, I see in that cartoon, I kind of see some parallels going on today, believe it or not. Let's see. What are some other things? So there are a couple of Warner Brothers cartoons I saw. Porky's Picnic, a Looney Tunes cartoon that featured Porky Pig, Petunia Pig, and the final appearance, Pinky Pig, in which Porky, Petunia, and Pinky all go on a picnic, and Pinky, like the little baby he is, decides to act like a brat and really kind of torment Porky and Petunia. But one of the things I found kind of even more kind of interesting about it was just how dark they went. As Pinky was taking a pair of scissors. Now, granted, he looks like he's like a baby or well, maybe like a toddler or something like that. But he was sitting there with scissors trying to cut the head off of a chipmunk. I mean, I had not seen. I don't think I'd ever seen Porky's Picnic before, but I mean that's pretty dark. Now, granted, a lot of the Golden Age animated shorts were done for both kids and adults, so but even I would have been wondering, well, was that really something that kids should have been watching? You just hope that no kid sit down and go out and try to do that themselves. As they said in the Beavis and Butthead article we read earlier, don't try this at home. So, and then of course another classic Merry Melodies cartoon, Dangerous Dan McFoo, with Sarah Berner doing the voice of Sue. With Audrey Hepburn's voice, but Betty Davis's features, and of course Arthur Q. Bryan before he locked in the role of Elmer Fudd with the voice of Dan McFoo and all that. So, all right. So we're coming up on 50 minutes now. So I think I will now get into the This Day Niche History segment. So first off, we're going to head back to 1950. And on this date, back in 1950, speaking, of course, of Warner Brothers, The Merry Melodies short Golden Yeggs, directed by Fritz Frayling, premiered in movie theaters on this date back in 1950. So 75 years ago today, the Merry Melodies short Golden Yeggs premiered on this date back in 1950. It was directed by Fritz Frayling. The cartoon was released on August 5th, 1950, and stars Daffy Duck and Porky Pig, a forerunner of the Rocky and Muggsy characters appear, with Rocky already in his present-day form. The story was written by Ted Pierce and animated by Arthur Davis, Jerry Chiniquy, Ken Champion, Virgil Ross, and Emery Hawkins. Paul Julian painted the background. Paul Julian, who would years later provide the voice of the Roadrunner, or not the voice, but the vocal characterizations. Painted the backgrounds, and Holly Pratt designed the layouts. Mel Blanc provided the voices, and Carl W. Stalling music. Yegg is a slang term for a burglar or safecracker. The same play on words was used in the title of the 1947 Bugs Bunny cartoon Easter Yeggs. It is also a film noir parody. Yeah, well, I thought Yeggs is just some funny way of saying eggs. Like with somebody with an accent, maybe how somebody like with a Bronx or Brooklyn accent would say eggs. They'd say yeggs. But you learn something new every day, right? So back in 1950, the Merry Melody short Golden Yeggs premiered in movie theaters. So now getting ready to move on to the next piece in each history. As we move ahead to the year 1965, 60 years ago today, on this date 60 years ago today, back in 1965, the 125th issue of Archie's Pal Jughead went on sale on this date back in 1965. So for 12 cents for 32 pages, you had basically 5 Jughead stories and 1 Little Jing stories, including The Price of Peace. The Jughead stories were The Price of Peace, Great Estate, The Lookalike, Nature Boys, and Temper Talent, and You're Out for the Little Jinx feature. So on this date, 60 years ago today, the 125th issue of Archie's Pal Jughead went on sale on newsstands on this date back in 1965. And as thus, 1965 is just so nice that we're going to hit it twice. As also on this date back in 1965, let's pull that up. On this date in 1965, Bill and Dan Miller win the WWF United States Tag Team titles from Gorilla Monsoon and Bill Watts in Washington, D.C. This is at the time when the company we know of today as the WWE was still a part of the NWA. Actually, they had parted ways. That's right, they had parted ways. But at the time, WWE was still a territory out of the Northeast that extended from New England all the way down to Washington, D.C. So on this date, 60 years ago as well, Bill and Dan Miller would win the WWF United States Tag Team titles, Gorilla Monsoon and Bill Watts. Bill Watts, who would, of course, go on to purchase Mid-South Wrestling and eventually create the first Universal Wrestling Federation. Gorilla Monsoon, who served as a long-time commentator for WWE, well, at the time WWF. So with that, we'll now get ready to move on to next piece of niche history here. Actually, the final piece of niche history, in fact, as, let me see. On this date in the year 2000, 20 years ago today, on this day in the year 2000 or 2005, so 20 years ago today, this day in the year 2005, 20 years ago today, Studio Fantasia's OVA Saikano, Another Love Song, premiered on this date back, or was released on this date back in 2005, so 20 years ago today. Studio Fantasia's OVA Saikano, Another Love Song was released on this date back in 2005. Alrighty then. So with that being said, I thank everybody for being here tonight. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. We'll be back here with more Niche News tomorrow. And we're back here on Sunday. I believe I still have to double check this, but I believe this Sunday being the 10th, Apex from Apex Comics will be joining me for the historical comic retrospect this Sunday. I still have to kind of remind myself of everything. So anyways, with that, I thank y'all for being here, and I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.